Thank you for joining, everyone. And this is a special episode because we are going to announce our first release, which is release 0.5 version. And this is a chat, a company-wide, a sort of a whole founding team where we are going to talk about the journey so far, whatever we have achieved, our individual contributions to the repo, the challenges we faced, and the things we have to look forward to. So I would request David to first talk about the current release, whatever we are going to announce, and the highlights of that. So we can set the context for the audience.
So today we are releasing, or rather Monday we released Resonate 0.5. We specifically chose 0.5 for no particular reason at all. It just sounds like a very nice semi-round number. But this is the first release that we really want to highlight where we feel that Resonate is at a state where it's maybe not quite mature enough to call it 1.0, but mature enough to build real applications, real workflows. Like you can build some real stuff with Resonate today. So we want to encourage the community to get out there, take a look at it, build an application if you feel so bold. Migrate some of your applications, your core applications to Resonate if you really feel bold. As it stands today, Resonate supports automatic retries, fault tolerance out of the box. We have two stores. We have a local and a remote store. Local store will work out of the box, and the remote store requires a server. That's when you really get the fault tolerance and a lot of the good stuff when you're ready to use our Resonate server. There are two primary packages you will find on our GitHub, our two primary repositories. One is our server, the Resonate server. The server is not required to get started. You can get started with just the SDK, but it is required if you want durability. We do need a database to store information to. And we also, as of today, have one SDK that is our TypeScript and JavaScript SDK. And you can get started, like I said, you can get started with that without using the server initially. And then the server is just a simple configuration setting you set on the SDK. So like I said, check it out. I'm sure there'll be links posted along with this podcast. And if you want to reach out to us, we are available. We have a community Slack. We have probably 100 other channels, Twitter. uh, I'll let the other guys fill in the rest of the details on how to reach out to us. GitHub, of
Yeah.
course. We're always looking for contributions on GitHub, pull
So are
requests,
we accepting
issues.
PRs as well?
100%. We already have some open source contributors. We're excited to say, but we're always looking for more.
That is awesome. So, Gabriel, what are your thoughts? What are the things you have worked on, and how excited are you about this release?
Very excited. So I think prior to this release, the focus really was on just handling failures, like platform level failures. And so that's where the retries and the recoverability by storing computational progress in the database come with. But I think have using that durability as a layer one, there's a lot of interesting coordination features that we're trying to build on top of it. And one of the major features that are part of this release is the task framework. So the ability to distribute tasks across multiple machines. That way you can run things in parallel and then also collect the operations. But the layer one of the rope executions makes all of that coordination much more reliable. And that's, I think, the most exciting feature that's happening in 0.5.
So, Gabriel, what is the easiest way to get started with Resonate right now?
Yeah, I mean, we do have a quick start on our docs. It's a very short quick start, 30 seconds. That really focuses on the retries feature. Once you get a taste of how the code is structured, we have a more in-depth quick start that goes through some of the recoverability and some of the coordination features as well in 3 steps. And if you're interested, we also have a concepts page that helps you deep dive how all of these features derive from a core concept, which is the durable promise, which is a REST resource that we've defined as our open standard that we build on top of. And so, yeah, I would recommend those 2 things, the quick starts and the concepts page to get started with and understand how programming with us really helps you.
Adding to that, I think since I get very less time to talk on the podcast, so I'll take that opportunity, right? We also have a way to do a brew install of Resonate server, and also we have an npm package available. So when I joined Resonate, I think for 5-6 months ago, I was primarily working on the SDK. Me and David, Gabriel was focused on the server, and now I think David is the one who was completely focused on the SDK and making I ensured that everything is there in place. He was also responsible for a lot of rewrites. So that brings me to an important question. We saw multiple rewrites, David. So what exactly we are trying to get right that it requires so much of rewrites?
I'm a firm believer that no project is correct until you've rewritten it about 3 times. The first time, you don't know what you're really trying to accomplish. You're just trying to get the core abstractions correct, and inevitably you get it wrong the first time. And the second time is an incremental step towards that. I don't want to say perfect or perfection because I don't think you ever reach that point, but it's a step in that direction. And then the third time is where you really get something that feels correct. You know you're heading in the right direction if the lines of codes go down. And I really think that we've achieved that here. It's certainly not perfection. There's a long way to go, but you get to the point where it's almost like diminishing returns. So to do a fourth rewrite perhaps is not worth it, at least not at this stage in the game. But specifically for Resonate, the reason why the SDK was so difficult and took a lot of rewrites is traditionally a lot of cloud applications have an SDK which is a thin wrapper around a REST API. And most of the core logic is actually implemented on the server side. Well, Resonate has a lot of logic and a lot of core logic on the server side. Our SDK is not simply a wrapper around our server. Our SDK truly is its own programming model. It is an event loop that does not replace the JavaScript event loop, but it augments the JavaScript event loop. It makes it more feature complete. It brings in the automatic retries. It brings in distribution to the async await that we all already know today. And because of that, there's a lot of stuff that's happening on the SDK that the server is completely oblivious to, because we have to do that on the SDK side, on the client side. So that was a very challenging thing for us to get right, because I had never had experience doing something like that. I've only had experience with the more traditional web applications where you're constantly talking to a server and you're just deferring everything to the server. With the Resonate SDK, a lot of stuff has to happen on the SDK side. And just to make things even more difficult to get right, the core component that the user brings to the SDK are functions and promises with their user functions. So we really need our core abstractions on the SDK to work with any user provided function. And that becomes much harder to get correct when you don't completely own the domain model, and you really need users the flexibility to say, hey, you can plug in any function that you want to plug in to Resonate, and it'll just work. Like hopefully we've gotten most of the way there. I'm sure there's a bunch of bugs that will be exposed, but we're excited to get that like feedback, to get that early feedback and to address that. Yeah, and we're excited to see what people build with this.
Mhm. So I also would like to understand, Dominic, um, in the space where we are operating, durable functions or distributed async await. In this space, where exactly do you see Resonate? The situation of Resonate right now. Do you think we are early in the game? Do you think um, the space is big enough? Or what are your thoughts around that? How what type of excitement are you seeing in this space, especially after the Force Asia visit of yours in Vietnam?
So the space is definitely a recent space, right? The category of durable executions is a fairly recent category, but there is a lot of movement in this category. And I like to compare it to databases. So you have the category of databases, and within that category, you have many different interpretations. Some interpretations are similar to each other, right? Like, for example, Postgres and MySQL. One can argue that they are fairly similar interpretations of what a database is. And then some are very different. For example, Postgres SQL and MongoDB. And some are even more different. If you, for example, compare Postgres with Tiger Beetle, a special purpose database. So, but all of them are in the category of databases. Now, something similar is happening in the category of durable executions, right? So multiple different interpretations of the concept of durable executions emerge. And our interpretation is distributed async await. And what is our guiding principle, our North Star, so to say, is the relentless focus on the user experience, both developer experience and operational experience, and that we summarize with this one slogan that we call "Dead Simple." Right. That's why our mascot Echo is a skeleton. Right. So it's like dead simple is basically our North Star. And what I am super excited about, you could almost argue on a meta level about this release, is how much the team came together, how much we hold each other accountable to this ideal of dead simple. And for example, especially Gabriel is a relentless advocate for the developer, absolutely relentless. And I appreciate that so much because it is so easy. It is so tempting to just like, let's throw in one more concept. Okay, we have a hard time with this. Let's throw in one more concept. Let's say we have pure functions and impure functions, or let's say we have steps and side effects, right? Let's just throw in one more concept. It is so tempting. But we held each other accountable, right? And we also lifted each other up in basically not to give in to that like first inclination, right? And focus on the very core of the programming model. And there I have an analogy that I like a lot. It's like if you have a chair and the chair have 4 legs, you can actually still take 1 leg away, right? So it's like the minimal chair is a chair with 3 legs. If you take 1 more leg away, you have something else. It's not a traditional chair anymore. But we were all trying really, really hard to identify this core programming model, boil it down to the most simple, most approachable, most understandable core abstractions, which is functions and promises. One of the reasons why there were rewrites early on in the SDK, right? Because at some point we were looking at it, saying it's like, okay, the API looks great, all right? So the API is simple, but the interface, but the implementation is not. It's like I am losing track of the implementation. I don't understand it anymore. Yeah? And we went back to the drawing board more than once keeping the interface stable, the API stable, but working on that implementation so that we actually have something that's not only dead simple to use, but also dead simple to understand. And this is, I think, a uniqueness at Resonate. This incredible focus, this relentless focus on the developer experience that's embodied, and operational experience that's embodied in that notion of being dead simple.
Recently I read about something, and I think like when you were mentioning about simplicity and complexity, I just thought that it relates it to that. I read about emergence theory, and I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that. So it talks about how complex systems exhibit behavior which are distinct and complex, but they can often be traced down from their simple structures, which help in making sure that these complex behaviors they exist in the nature. So similar to that, I think we were trying to do that the implementation, if that is simple, that is clean, we'll be able to tame the complex problem which we are trying to solve. Apart from that, Dominic, with this release, I have seen that our Slack has become active. A lot of your fans are reaching out. They are telling that they would love to chat. So, what are the next things people can look out for? Are we going to do some Twitter Space meetups, or how active are you on Slack? Is that the right way to reach out to you if somebody wants to chat about Resonate?
So we will definitely do some Twitter Spaces. We will definitely do some meetups, because that obviously also that scales, right? So then we have a larger group of people to communicate. But I also very much enjoy the one-on-one communication and the brainstorming about requirements and then solid architectures. So if any listener is so inclined, yeah, I'm super active on the Slack. If you have a list of requirements, if you have a system in mind and you would like to brainstorm, right? Not only about, hey, how do I do this with Resonate, but actually like brainstorm about a holistic system architecture, right? How can we get scalable and reliable systems while having a delightful developer experience with Resonate? Then yeah, just reach out to me on Slack. I enjoy the architecture meetings and brainstorm meetings very, very much. So it's like I'm very happy to jump on a Zoom call and talk to people about their systems and their architectures. But yes, we also have more scalable content coming out: blog posts, Twitter Spaces, meetups, the classical one. But the stuff I really enjoy is one-on-one meetings. So don't be shy.
Awesome. David, what are the next things we are looking to tackle after this release?
I really, really, really hope to get as much feedback from the community as possible. Because at this point in the game, I feel there are 20 different ways Resonate could go. Neither one of them is particularly right or wrong, and likely we will explore like many of those pathways. But the pathway that this team would be inclined to go down might not necessarily be the best for the community. And we really want to see just how people use Resonate for their applications and their business processes and their workflows. And I think that will guide which of those 20 pathways we choose. So really, more than anything, I would love to see how people are using Resonate, the kind of features that they're looking for, and really the biggest obstacles to using Resonate today, so that we can address those and get as many people on board to what we're trying to create here.
Awesome then. Thank you, you all folks, for joining, and thank you, audience for listening. For more information, visit the website which David mentioned, and also check out some links which we will be sharing below in the description section. So thank you for that.